Yo, what's up, everybody? ChilWill Keller, and in this episode, my dear friend Chris Jantzen and I are going to dive deep into belief systems, objective truth, first principles, philosophy, and natural law. How you can make real world change starting with yourself. Enjoy. Gia. What's up, brothers and sisters? ChilWill Keller, willtelltruth.com. I got a special guest, my dear friend Chris Jantzen of EndEvil.Life. How you doing, brother?
I'm doing great. I'm glad to see the sun today and glad to see you, man. Thanks for having
Yeah,
me.
yeah, it's clearing up, and it's a good day for sight. And we got a really good topic. Um, the title of our session today is "What We Can't Not Know," and it's an interesting title. I'll say it again: "What We Can't Not Know." And I think the reason why I chose this title is that the information that we are going to present today, I'm pretty sure we're going to do a two-part series. We're gonna get into the general with the kind of the introduction, problem, and solution. But this information is something that humanity on the aggregate can't afford not to know. This is crucial. It affects everybody. It's binding to us all, and it's something that we definitely need to have a conversation about, and people need to be aware of and start that process of discovering the material and then applying it to themselves. So what do you think, Chris? What do you think about that title?
It's great. I love myself. I love a little bit of wordplay, and that makes you think a little bit right off there. And I think that's the goal of what we're getting at here. We're trying to make you think. So if you're listening right now and you've had any questions about reality or felt lost or curious about what's going on around us, I think the most important question to motivate people right now is why. Why are things happening the way they are? Why are we feeling the way we are about things? And I think when we really keep looking deeply into that question of why, answers will emerge, and we can find answers to our problems, and that's why I'm here.
Well said. Yeah, the one of the most powerful words, right? I mean, the most powerful word, why. Um, Putting out there that you're looking for the causal factors of a problem. And I love this quote by Albert Einstein. You cannot change a problem from the same level of consciousness that created the problem. And to solve a problem, you have to ask that question: why? Why are we having this problem? And in humanity nowadays, yeah, we're having some major issues. So the question of why is a must, and that's a process of discovery. So you
And
nailed it.
ultimately, to solve any problem, the key is to get at the root of the problem. And so often in our modern way of thinking and societal trends, there's this tendency just to be concentrating on the problems and getting frustrated with them and the emotions that are evoked because of these problems, or how we feel about them, or what we believe about them. But all those are not really getting at fixing the problem. And getting at fixing the problem requires understanding the problem, getting to the deeper level. So maybe we can get a little deeper into that today in our discussion, and hopefully some other folks will come along with us on this mental and spiritual journey.
Yeah, absolutely, man, for sure. So we're going to start a little bit more on the title, what we can't not know. I want to focus on we, and I'm using that in the sense of the aggregate of humanity, the human species, the collective consciousness of humanity. And a lot of people don't even kind of think about this concept, that we have the individual, and then the individual multiplied creates one collective consciousness. It's the aggregate. It's the totality of the human level of consciousness. And that's really important, because that's the material that we're going to to bring today and talk about, it absolutely starts with you, with the individual, but in the changing of yourself reflects on the aggregate level. And that's the only way we're going to get worldwide change, is if more individuals start focusing the attention on themselves, changing, and that will reflect in the collective or the aggregate scale of humanity.
What you're talking about now is very close to my heart. As you see behind me, I have the tree of life. And the reason for that is, I think what you're talking about is one of the most misunderstood in the modern age facets of reality, that we are all connected and we are all interconnected with the web of life. I wrote a little something last night to that effect, and I'd like to read that.
Do it.
We are connected. How do you separate one aspect of reality or of life? How can a human see without an eye? How can an eye see without a brain? What good is a brain without veins or blood or a heart? All systems of life depend on one another. You cannot take out one piece and separate it. This recognition that our thoughts and our actions are of importance cannot be ignored if we actually think through and love the process of understanding knowledge. And when you follow that path, you understand, most of us do on a deep level, that everything we do matters. What any one person does affects all other humans. The way we think as a group, as a species, is going to dictate the future of our physical reality as a species, as a group. As you say, the aggregate. To deny that your thoughts matter and that your actions are of consequence is to deny life itself, which in essence is a giant middle finger to the universe and to the creator, or the all, the cosmos, you know?
Yeah, man.
So to sum that up a little bit in my own words, coming into alignment with the recognition that we are a part of the greater whole offers us a responsibility to take charge of our decisions and our thoughts and understand that they are going to affect reality. Therefore, it makes a lot of sense to come from a thoughtful, deep, introspective point of view as you approach life decisions, even the small ones.
Yeah, man. Well said. That's awesome. Yeah, you know, we are, um, you know, the individual unit of consciousness, right? We're the individual monad of the greater whole or the all. And so we are influencing and manipulating our individual realities, but we're also co-creators to the totality of humanity. And so, I mean, you're right. Looking at the tree of life, that's a great example how everything is interconnected, and you know, getting down to the roots. You know, we're all one, and that's a huge topic in itself. But that's a good foundation that people need to understand where worldwide change comes from. It comes from the individuals creating change in themselves, outputting that in their behavior, and then we start to see change on the aggregate level.
And I bring that up because on a personal level, in discussions with people I know, even those who have come to recognize some of the deeper problems, there's a struggle with this factor where people feel like, I'm just a very small part of this. Even if they see the web of interconnectedness, what can I do? I'm such a small part of it.
Mm.
So here's where I try to stress, just how valuable you are as a person, and that you are a co-creator in reality, and every little thing does matter. And if you can follow that logic and understand that, how do we convince people, just the extent of their value? One thing I tried to do in my series was to point out some people through history who have made profound change, and all of humanity has been affected. You hear names like Gandhi or Mother Teresa or Martin Luther King, these names that have stuck around on people that really made an impression on thousands or millions of people. The whole future and history of mankind can be affected by very small group of people. And as things all lie now, that very small group of people who are initiating change and affecting the mass mind of the public are evildoers.
Yeah.
So it's up to you and I and whoever's listening to this to begin building our own foundation of knowledge and understanding, and teach others to have the ability to become the creators that are creating a much better future where it is not full of evil, where it's full of good.
Yeah. No, absolutely. And, you know, in the world today, there's boxes of thought, there's belief systems that we're getting bombarded with, you know, coming right out of the womb, growing up. You know, these are generational, and they're limiters of consciousness. And I want to get into now a little bit about belief and belief systems. But actually, first, let me touch on two things. Let's talk about um, natural and artificial, because these are important. Um, so natural means of, from, or relating to God, right? The natural world. It's inherent. It's here. Humans didn't create it. Um, we are part of nature. We are part of the natural. But then there's artificial, and artificial is made by humans, not natural or from God. What these are false mental constructs, meaning we make them up, and then we can act on them. And this is exactly what a false belief system is. It's artificial. Now, belief itself is dogmatic because it's not based in fact or truth or evidence. It's something that somebody told you, or you picked it up somewhere and you actually didn't look into it yourself. And this can be pretty dangerous, right, Chris?
Yeah, that's to me a major sticking point. I find with just about everybody I know or have discussed matters of truth with, where I try to make the point that truth is something that's discoverable. And a lot of folks I tend to talk to seem to think that we can believe as we choose.
Mm.
And surely we do have that freedom to believe as we choose. However, um, a superior way of looking at reality and interpreting it is to be on the path of truth rather than willing to hang on a belief. Because a belief, even if you think about the word believe, you're leaving your being, you're separating from what you know to be true. um, I don't know I saw that, I believe I saw that. You're going to stick with something that's sort of whimsical and possible as opposed to finding the truth. And I think it's almost a fear in many cases to take that extra step and to search, because it involves a certain level of struggle and a
Mm.
possibility of having to give things up that you formerly thought. And I know personally in my life, I have gone through the process of believing things and then realizing I don't even like to use that word very much anymore in conversation or when I'm discussing things. Or I'm very careful to say, okay, now we're talking about something far out. That is a belief, yes. But let's get back to what we know. And so I think that's what we're trying to do today, is get to that core principles of truth. And truth is objective. You can't just find a truth and choose to selectively believe it or not believe it. It is either true or it is not true. And that's something that I think is also a common struggle for folks. And I've thought of this little way of describing it. Think of a rock. You know, you could say, I don't believe in rocks, but when you slip on one and you fall down and you hit your head on one, doesn't matter what you believe. There's blood pouring down your face and your head hurts. You know, the rock wins. It's real. It's true.
Mm-hmm.
You could deny it mentally all you want. You could write essays about how rocks aren't real. You could create a anti-rock foundation, but nevertheless, when someone throws one at your face, you're going to feel it. So that's what truth is. Truth is something that's undeniable, inherent, and objective.
Yeah, absolutely. And we can tie that into natural and artificial. Belief systems are artificial. They're dogmatic. And you know, you said a good point. That you know what, dogma is unchallenged. Um, it's an unchallenged belief, meaning, and it's usually it's complied with based in fear. You know, you're scared of it. It uses fear to get you to submit to it, and that's where the false axiom kind of, you know, sticks in your level of consciousness, and then you act on those behaviors, and that's really the big problem, is acting, having it dictate your behavior. And you know, an axiom is a statement or proposition that is considered to be self-evident. So it's artificial. You're telling yourself it is true, but you know, going back to what you said, even the word truth is, you know, people don't have an actual grasp on it nowadays. People think truth is subjective, and that's not even what the word means at all. The word means absolute, objective. It's independent from our perception. I always talk about the, you know, two people standing face to face, and then you have the is it a 6 or is it a 9? You know, so that is subjective, but that's not truth. It's fact that on one side it is a 6, and it's a fact on the other side it's a 9 for the other person. But that's not actual truth. Truth is, it's independent from our perception, and that's so important to know. And just like natural, right, it's inherent, it's not man-made. um, it's independent and absolute. So
And one good way to kind of cement that whole idea is just the aspect of truth. If someone's saying, well, there is no such thing of truth, what you're essentially saying is it's true that nothing is true. So that's doublespeak. That's ridiculous.
yeah,
You know, there's no logic to there's no such thing of truth. We have the word means something, and what it means is exactly what you said, inherent and pre-existing to our perceptions. So the goal of what we're going to discuss, philosophy might be what we're going to lead into at some point here, is to love truth, to seek truth, and to see it as the greatest ideal. And that takes us away from the artificial. Not to say that we can't create things, not to say that we can't appreciate created things, or even sometimes it's fun to dream about beliefs, and that's part of how we work on the discovery process. But the overall goal being to discover that truth, like you would discover a rock or discover gold in the ground. It was
yeah,
there before you began looking for it. And
absolutely.
it just says now, are you ready to begin looking for it?
That is, you know, truth discovery is the creative process. Creativity is, you know, it's an expression of evolution. It's divine. And you know, the whole goal of kind of where we're going with this is philosophy. Philosophy is the category that will set us on that path of truth discovery. And truth being natural, and non-man-made, it's there. It is that which is. What we're talking about is nature. The laws of nature are unwavering, right? They're immutable, they're binding, they're universal, they're eternal. And our goal is to, on the aggregate scale and the individual for humanity, is to align our perception with which that is truth and natural. So creativity goes into that hand in hand, as far as, you know, taking the first step and going on that journey. It is a creative process because, you know, it's the true scientific method as well.
And as we were saying before, we are co-creators in this interconnected web of life. You know, that's part of the basic understanding. And the sad part that I've found is that I've always thought of myself as a philosopher, but in so many cases, what I see the word philosophy being teased and used as a joke. I think often people have misdefined the word, or are not understanding where the word really comes from and what it really means, because philosophy is often looked at as, like these really nerdy eggheads pontificating and never getting anywhere with this endless discussion that's just about a bunch of ethereal, non-relevant long words that we don't understand. So what I'd like to do is kind of get to the very basic understanding of what the word actually means. Philosophy comes from two words put together, philo and sophis. And philo is the love, ancient Greek word meaning love, to love. And sophis um, is wise or learned. So when you put those two roots together, the love of wisdom is basically what you get, the love of knowledge. And so it's basically what the word actually means is a deep love to want to get in touch with reality, to want to understand what really is truth, and what the natural binding inherent um, pre-human laws are that are existence around us, and how to come into alignment with those things.
Yeah, absolutely. For the love of wisdom.
And I also wanted to read one little thing I got from one of my favorite websites, which is Etym.Online, where I look a lot of times to find etymology. And it says here in like the second paragraph, the first paragraph describes, as I said, love of wisdom, love of knowledge, and the origins there. And then it says, from mid 14th century as the discipline of dealing in rational speculation or contemplation, and then late in 14th century as natural science, also alchemy or occult knowledge. So the word in the Middle Ages was understood to embrace all speculative sciences, meaning a system a person forms for conduct of life. So the body of the highest truth, the science of the most fundamental matters. That's from the 1700s. So I think the key there is understanding that what this word means, what this whole philosophy thing we're discussing means, that we're trying to find a science of understanding things, not a pretend dogmatic belief system, but finding the actual, having a method to search for the actual science of what we believe, and understanding that affects the world we live in and how we take our actions.
Yeah, absolutely. It is a science. It's and it's asking those big questions. It's kind of a shame how it's been perverse throughout the years. I'm not gonna lie, growing up I thought philosophy was how you described it as well. And now I have that love for wisdom, and philosophy is where it's at. It's gathering like knowledge and the understanding of nature, of natural, and how to apply it to yourself. And it's really important because what philosophy really is, it is discovery. It's the discovery of truth, and it's the discovery of the truth of nature's principles, these foundational um, axioms that make nature tick. And it's kind of eternal. It's not like an end of the road thing. Like once you've discovered philosophy and you've put in years, you're gonna know the totality of it. It's ongoing, and it probably will be, because in this physical realm, excuse me, we can keep learning and acquiring knowledge and understanding, and then applying it. So, what a huge category.
And I think an important thing to point out there is I want to come back to the value of the individual and the value of the life we have and the time we have here. For me, at a pretty young age, I was introduced to deep ideas in philosophy, which I think put me on this path. It doesn't make me better than anyone else. It's just I sort of discovered it because of the circumstances and the way my father was and the things he talked about. Um, the point I'm getting at here is that it takes a certain desire to want to know things. And it's also, I don't think, commonly known in the modern age that as beings here with this incredible body, with this tool of our mind that has this sort of inconceivable potential, there's really no end to what can be accomplished. We also, along with that comes a responsibility to do something with it. And we have a job to do in this lifetime. And that job requires us to learn. It requires us, I mean, think about it, even a baby being born and going through the steps of learning how to use the physical body. In the same way, we have this incredible mind and these incredible capabilities to change things. So along with that, like Spider-Man, you know, with power comes responsibility. So I'd like to impress upon any listener at this moment, you know, you do have a responsibility to learn the truth, and you do have a responsibility to become in alignment with that and use this tool, this amazing, incredible tool you have, to be part of that process. And if you choose not to, which you certainly can do, you will still be dragged by reality through the madness. And in a lot of cases, that's what's happening, because those who have not chosen to become an initiate into the occult and deeper aspects of reality and truth are going to learn it the hard way. And that's the slow, hard, long way of being dragged through it by circumstances, rather than choosing your own path um, with your wit and your wisdom.
Yeah. The choice has to be made, and that kind of goes to the whole crux of what we're trying to get at with what we can't not know. And what we can't not know is the causality of our reality, our mind, and how nature works, these fundamental principles, um, of cause and effect. And like you said, if you don't come accustomed and aware to it and begin that journey of understanding, then yeah, you're going to be dragged through the mud because you're not aware of how things truly work. And you're constantly going to be looking at just the physical realm, which are the symptoms. You're constantly going to be dealing with the symptoms and not getting down to the root causes of things. And philosophy, it focuses on physics, the physical, but a lot on metaphysics, which means after physics or beyond physics, beyond the natural. And this is really important, that this the invisible, the energetic realm, where causality comes from. And if you're trying to make change, if you're trying to solve a problem, you need to know the causes of those issues. And this is what philosophy does. It allows you to get in touch with these principles and how to apply them to get a better understanding and to, shape your perception of what's really going on. And with all the problems in the world today, we need clear sight. We need vision of what's truly happening and why. So that's really important.
And then once we sort of formulate this vision, on this understanding of what's going on, then we have the ability, with our choices we make and how we invest our energy and time, to actually make change in the world. And sometimes that's a subtle thing. I think having discussions like we're doing and sharing them with others is one way, one potential way of affecting change. You consider all the other people that might listen to this conversation or one like it, and that might affect the way they think. And then they might, in their discussion with another person, relate an idea that affects that person. It could have a ripple effect. Mm. I took a little quote from, I guess it's one of the Banksy paintings, and it said, "A lot of people never use their initiative because no one told them to." And I think that's appropriate here because the point I'm trying to drive home with what we're studying is this is about you and me and everybody who's listening and what we do with information. Um, so the core part of this is deciding to become an initiate, deciding to learn and wanting to seek truth. And that's a process. It's a difficult process, but it can be done much more easily, with others as we're doing, talking things out. And there's books and there's plenty of information. If one chooses to find these things, they can be discovered.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's kind of, that's a huge fallacy nowadays, is that you can't know this type of information. You can't know the truth. Um, and that's false. That's another belief system. And I want to stress the fact about belief systems, because all religions are belief systems. They're not based in truth. They're used to manipulate your consciousness, your awareness, and your perception. Um, and this is why having your foundational operating system, your mind, your consciousness, based in principles, which means first things, the foundational operation of nature, why it's so important. And taking the journey of discovery and understanding. You can see through the bullshit. You know what I mean? So you can smell it coming a mile away. It's false. It's falsities. And
I can say from, my own journey that I'm somebody who much of my life dealt with confidence issues. And over the past 5 to 10 years, as I've become more settled into hermetics and the idea of natural law, the more I feel this confidence that I never had in my life before, where I don't have doubts about certain questions anymore. I understand. I'm upset when I see things that are happening that are what I call evil, the destruction of freedom. But even though it upsets me, I understand why it's happening. And I know that I'm being proactive to do something about it. And that is embracing knowledge and then the wisdom of doing something with it gives us a confidence. And so that's sort of like my advertisement to folks of why you should become an initiate into um, matters of truth, into hermetics, into the idea of natural law. I'd never even heard the term natural law before I was like 40 years old. And it was sort of a surprise because I had been raised in religion, where religion is heavily inundated with storytelling. And I think storytelling has its place in culture and teaching. However, when storytelling is used as truth and not explained to be what it is, a story, often even history is a story. It's a version of what could have happened.
mm,
But the actual truth takes a little more work to get at. And one way we can get at it is by chopping it down to logic and brass tack facts, to things we know. And philosophy is the tool for doing that, is understanding the root um, why of things, as we've said. So where would you go next with this, introducing somebody into occulted knowledge, hermetics? How do we take someone from who's curious, who wants to become um, more aligned with these first principles? How do we take them there?
well, I think this is an excellent start, where we what we talked about so far. But let's move it into principles. And what principles are the principles of nature. This is natural law. These are nature's laws, the cosmic laws, the metaphysical laws that are immutable, binding, non-man-made, right? And they govern the behavior of humans and the consequences of humans. So that's really important, because once you start to pull your awareness to there, you start diving in deep, that's where you get into the causal realm. You start figuring out the the consequences of behavior for your own actions as an individual, and then also on the aggregate, why humanity is at the level that it's at currently. And in case people are listening to this and they're not fully aware of what level we're at as far as humanity is, it's not good. We are in the false axiom level. We're in a belief system. We're stuck into a false mental construct. People are believing something that is not real, and we can go down the list, but I think the main one would be authority. And we see this a lot in religion, right? The divine right to rule, the kings, because they say, they have told you that they are a direct descendant, or they're in communication to God, so they need to rule the people. So, and then people believe that. And so, and that's one example. We have that in the modern our modern civilization as government. So this is where belief systems can be extremely dangerous. And one needs to first understand and shift their awareness to the discovery of truth and away from beliefs, right? Belief is the enemy of knowing, and there is no lie in nature. So we got to stick to the natural and what is real. And I think that's really important
You
for
know,
the discovery of truth.
what that makes me think of is I remember this book we read as children that was called Where the Red Fern Grows. And it described in there making this trap, this raccoon trap, that consisted of drilling a hole in a log and putting an angled nail in that hole. And then at the bottom of the hole is this shiny piece of metal. And the way the raccoon gets caught is it wants that shiny piece of metal, and it puts its hand in there and grabs a hold of it, and then it can't get its hand back out. It's stuck. And in a lot of ways, that's where I see us as a race, as a species, as a society. We have all these shiny toys. We have this technological gains. We have these amazing mental gains, but somehow we've left behind the very base foundational aspects of the spirit, of the knowledge of what's right and wrong, of morality, of the natural laws of the universe, of the cosmos. And so here's us hanging on to all these awesome things we can do. We can send ships in the air. We can blow things up. We can do all these amazing feats because of our sciences, our physical sciences, yet we've left behind the metaphysical sciences, which are what create the physical realm. So we're in a state as a race of slavery, and that is very difficult for people to hear in many cases. It was initially for me too, because when we hear the word slavery, we think what that means is someone chained up on a boat rowing or something, or being whipped while in the field, reaping the sugar cane or whatever. But what the word slavery means is the destruction of freedom, the destruction of the ability to engage your will and your personal power, or humans' ability to make choices. Whenever one entity or person is saying that they have power over you and they can make choices for you, they're invading that natural basic law that we're born with. We're born with this skin and these hands and this mind and the ability to choose what we do with it. So authority is this process of breaking down that natural inherent ability to do as you please, as long as you're not harming others. Authority starts in school. And I'm not saying there's nothing good about school, but one of the biggest aspects that repelled me about school was the constant training to get in line, to do as you're told, over creative thought. Whereas if we encourage in young people creative thought, that engages the possibility for a better future. And by stifling the creative, imaginative, um, like we talked about, we're creative beings, we're co-creators. In many ways, our whole society stifles that from birth. And it's hard to see. We're used to it. We want to believe the story. We want to believe the religion that we need government and we need all these structures in place to keep us safe because we're all bad or something. You know, people have a lot of strange ideas in their head that we're somehow evil ourselves and that we need to be controlled. But that is a lie. You know, it's a blatant lie, and it can be proved in our own lives and how we treat one another. And it's so hard for folks to see because we've never had any glint of it. Every aspect of our life since we've been born is this slow indoctrination from every angle, from school, from education to food, where you're being poisoned in many cases, where the electrical grid, um, what's poured into the skies, the chemicals, all around us are the world is tainted with this harmful kind of evil that is keeping us enslaved in not seeing our own value and not understanding that we as individuals have the right to do as we please as long as we're not harming others. And that right is being infringed upon and stomped upon in every way imaginable all around us all the time. And as soon as you become able to see it and you have eyes to see and you're willing to recognize that that might be the case, you begin to see it in a very scary way. And that is the path of the initiate. It's a scary path. It's a dark path, but it's worthwhile.
Yeah, well said. I feel like, we're cosmic, we're spiritual children is what we really are. It's like believing in Santa Claus, right? When somebody tells their kid about Santa Claus and that he's keeping an eye on you all year, so you better be good or you're going to go on the naughty list. This is the belief system, right? And you're complying out of fear, out of repercussion. And that's how humanity is nowadays with authority, with government. People think it's real. This isn't a real entity. This is a belief system. This is it's a false mental construct that people believe, and they're complying to, because they're scared of it. They're scared of the repercussions. And that is lack of knowledge of oneself and of nature. And like you said, there's the attack on the natural is constant, whether it be mentally, emotionally, physically, and spiritually. It's everything in society is almost inverted, and this would happen. This is the artificial reality that we're living in. And I always like to say, we need to get back to nature. And when I talk to people about that, they think that I'm talking about like camping, going out in a tent. No. When I say the return to nature or getting back to nature, I'm talking about getting back to first things, foundational
The why,
principles.
as we spoke of, the why.
Exactly. Getting down to the why, the causes on how reality operates. And this is the ultimate goal. And
A good test, I think, for just your average person to sort of experience what we're discussing is run through your mind a little bit about your choices in life and how many of them are dictated by money. Maybe you're someone who was born into lots of money and that's never been an issue for you. But I think even those people, if you think about the choices that are being made and how often money is the God that's actually guiding force, even in religions where their choices are also based on money, you see how money itself has become a religion and an authority in people's lives that is totally based on a belief system. The belief is that if I take this bill or this card and put it in this machine or give it to this person, I'll receive some goods for it.
mm-hmm.
And it works only because everybody continues to believe in it. And that itself, the system of the way money has been engaged in our modern society, is an evil because it's breaking down our freedom. because we're locked into someone else's devaluing our time, or putting a certain value on it. And in many cases, our deep decisions are based on this sort of false belief in this magical authority of money, or the magical authority of politicians, who really don't, you don't see them day to day in life. They're not helping you take care of your children and get your groceries. Um, we don't need those false beliefs to survive and to treat each other well and to build communities and to share things and trade goods. That's just because we're so used to it being that way. We can't see how we would do without it.
Yeah. Yeah. And, ignorance is slavery. It's slavery of the mind. And then it's slavery of the physical body and the spiritual. And ultimately, what these false belief systems do, they control. That's what they are. They're boxes for consciousness so you can operate in. That's exactly what money is, right? It's controlling your energy. Religions, and money is a religion, but the cultural religions, this is control over your thought process, your mind, and then it's getting you to act a certain way. It's dictating your behavior. And so
That's the power differential there, what you're describing.
exactly.
And I think this is something that's really hard for some people to see, is that the actual power that the elites, the small percentage that are ruling over us, have over us, is knowledge, is these deep esoteric and occulted secrets, these understandings of how things work. And it seems so simple and silly, but it's massive. And when we as the general public begin to understand the occulted knowledge, they will no longer have power over us. But because right now the very few at the top of the pyramid have all the knowledge and the occulted understandings of the underpinnings of reality, it's easy for them to control the masses. So the idea here would be for us to help the masses become initiated into the occulted secrets, the deep knowledge. And what is that? I think a lot of people might be thinking right now. What is that secret knowledge? And it's the stuff we've been talking about. It's really obvious, but we can continue to get deeper into that to help you and other people understand what we mean by occulted knowledge and secret knowledge.
Yeah, absolutely. And we've been hinting at it and talking about it, diving into it in this discussion. It is the knowledge and understanding of the self, of you, and how reality operates. Your mind, the psyche, and how nature, the physical reality, its laws, its principles, how they correspond to humans, and how and vice versa. So, and this power differential, it it's allowing us to enslave ourselves. It's a big trick, to speak plainly. It's taking advantage of us, even though we're doing it to ourselves, because we're falling for false belief systems, just belief systems in general. So, and again, to control. So, people hear that word occult, and that's exactly what it is. The word occult means hidden. So this is hidden information. It's hidden knowledge of the self and the laws of nature.
And the understanding that what you do matters. And like I
Absolutely.
said before, everything you do does matter. And if all of us as a group are living in an immoral fashion and choosing to think and do actions that are harmful to others and allow others to cause harm to others and our planet and nature, we're creating a system of slavery. And so it's actually us that's doing it.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a tendency for folks to really focus and worry about, these elite controllers, people that are running the world, or the evildoers, and point the finger at them squarely. But the key to actually repairing this situation is to realize that we have the power within us. And the way we do that is by speaking words, by thinking. It begins by thinking, and then it comes out in words. And then how we speak our words is how we bring reality into focus. And we can become active creators of truth and harmony and justice by understanding that we no longer need to be owned or controlled by some other force, especially not some force that we don't even personally know, and especially not without our choice, the opportunity to say, no, I don't want to do that. No, I don't want to be part of that. We have accepted this false belief system that, oh, this power, this big gang we call government, they have the right to bomb people in another country or force us to stay in our homes because of safety for everyone. They know what's right. And so what we need to do is take back that power and that understanding and say, no, I know what's right. And that is not to drop bombs on people, and it is not to lock people in their homes. And so I'm going to choose to work in the direction of being a good person and not do things that harm others, and not be part of a gang that extorts money from people or forces them into prisons because it disagrees with whatever little choices they made that are not harmful.
Yeah, absolutely. And, being, we are of nature. We are part of the natural. And, we come into this realm with the gift of free will, but also being part of nature. Nature's laws apply to us as well. So we have natural law, which is deterministic, and then we have free will, which is random. So we have the choice to harmonize or go against natural law, and there will be consequences for both choices. This is natural law, is also cosmic law, moral law, karmic law. This is what the law of attraction. This is what this truly is, the information that we're talking about. And my point is that you are a sovereign being. You own yourself. Nobody owns you. But without the knowledge of self, without truly knowing that and understanding what that means, then someone's going to own you and take advantage of you. And I think that's really important for people to understand that they're being controlled. And you're right. Yeah, I mean, I see a lot of people looking at, oh, it's this group of people, it's this group, and it's the politicians, and um, all those people are immoral pieces of shit. But the solution lies within yourself, changing your behavior to harmonize with natural law, the laws of nature.
I often think of the kids movie A Bug's Life, where the one bug is about to be smashed by the cruel grasshoppers who've been taking all their food, and he stands up and he says, no, there's a lot more of us than there are of you. And you look out and there's thousands and thousands of the other bugs there, and the grasshoppers all of a sudden finally realize they're totally outnumbered. And that is the case in our situation. And it's almost laughable and silly when you consider that so many hundreds of thousands of people are being completely controlled and indoctrinated by so few. And all it really is a sea change, a shift of consciousness of recognizing this deeper truth that we are co-creators, that we are important, that we do have the facilities to create change. And it begins with the study of knowledge and the love of knowledge and understanding how things actually work. And this natural law we're describing is the fundamental, key concept here. The key to freedom is realizing that it's up to us. It's up to each of us to grasp truth and to seek truth. And so I wanted to bring up the word initiate. It's something I've said several times. Initiate is one who's been initiated in secret doctrines. initiated, instructed in secret knowledge. So the power of being initiated in this knowledge is like, for instance, learning to make a tool as opposed to just being given a tool. If you were someone in ancient times who needed to fight with swords, and you actually knew how to make a sword, you would have so much more power than someone who didn't know that. You know, one sword could get broken and you could make another. So my challenge to the listener is to choose actively to become an initiate in the principles, the basic principles we're discussing. I would say start with looking into hermetics. I would say look into natural law, and you can test these things out for yourself. Take an action you would normally not take and see what is the effect in the real world. Begin to think in a new way that you've not thought before and see how it affects your actions. And try to tell me that how you think does not affect how you act, and how you act does not affect those around you. You know, if you could prove that to me, then that would mean I'm wrong. But I do feel sure that you would not be able to prove to me that your actions do not have consequence, and that your thoughts do not affect your actions.
Yeah, excellent. You know, as we think, so we feel, so we act, right? This is the dominion of self. This is about taking control of your mind, and the responsibility of behavior, and taking action. And if we're going to create worldwide change, and it starts with ourselves, we need higher consciousness. Um, we need to take in correct, true information, knowledge, and understand it to give us that higher pattern recognition, which is consciousness in a nutshell, awareness, pattern recognition, so we can see the patterns of behavior that are going on with ourselves as an individual, but also on the aggregate level, and then see those causal factors. And you're right, it is a ripple effect. When the individual starts changing, you're powerful, you're sovereign, and you do create change within others around you. And the universe is spoken into existence. That's why your work and a lot of people speaking about this kind of information is extremely important. And taking action is where it's at.
And it's not to say that, I have this, or you or I have reached this level that's somehow above or looking down on others. It's always a process of learning every day and discovery. The challenge I'm making is to take up that challenge, to decide to keep trying to learn. And you do come along and realize maybe part of the way I've been looking at things is a little bit off, but you're not going to find that until you take that step of reading something and then writing it down in your own thoughts and discussing it with someone else and hearing them reflect on it, and looking at another book and hearing someone else's point of view. All of a sudden you begin to discover what makes sense and what reverberates. And that's not a quick process. It's not something you just know it all tomorrow, from watching one show or reading one book. It's a consistent ongoing process of trying to love the truth and wanting to be aligned with the natural law.
Yeah. And that philosophy, seek truth, speak truth, and for the love of truth. It is an ongoing process, and that's exactly what we're here to do. We're here to grow and evolve, um,
and be willing to change, I would say.
Sure.
To be willing to be wrong, to be willing to say, I was wrong. I'd do that. I used to believe in government. I was wrong. I used to believe in Christianity, and I bought a lot of things from it, and I was wrong. There are good things that exist in each of these structures, like the organization fact. Organization is a good thing. In Christianity, there's a lot of jewels and gems. The things that Jesus said are great parables that have also share these deep philosophy underpinnings that we're discussing. Every religion shares the basic ideas of do unto others as you would have done unto yourself. That is something that is, there's no argument that can be found that makes sense, that makes any logical sense, to not embrace some of those basic um, first principles. And that's why people so easily fall for the lures of government or religion or cults that want to try to then add all this storytelling and indoctrination to what really should be kept broken down to its simplest form in philosophy, in embracing truth and being able to interpret it from the individual point of view without accepting a bunch of non-provable possible belief systems and dogmatic thoughts.
Yeah, absolutely. Which is rampant, especially nowadays, right? There's false information and belief systems going all over the place, and people are just clinging on to them. And then, you know, that messes with their perception, right? People filter everything through their belief systems. And when you're at a position of first principles that are foundational in truth, based in truth, in the natural world, in nature, your perception gets a whole lot clearer. So, man, I know we could keep going on and on about this, and I really want to do a part 2 so we can dive in deeper. You know, we're just kind of getting the general and scratching the surface with this. Is there anything you want to add to close?
Yeah, I think it would be great to get deeper into the principles of hermetics and to go through those and explain each of them carefully. Yeah, you have a pretty good, everybody take a screenshot. There it is.
Click, click. There we go. The actual law, first principles.
But there are a lot more principles to be discussed. But I think for just to kind of cap off what we've discussed here, I'd like to read one other little quote I gathered from George Eliot. It will never rain roses. When we want to have more roses, we must plant more roses. So,
yeah.
that's what I want to leave you with, is that as a listener today, it's up to you to do something and to choose to take the path of learning and knowledge, and to want to know how you can make a difference. If you do want to make a difference, you have to become the initiate, and that means stop lying to yourself and start looking at what's really going on around you. And I think we'll go deeper into that in our next discussion. But
yeah, we sure will. Well said. And like the infamous Manly P. Hall said, by philosophy we can live wisely and die well.
yes.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, thanks for tuning in. Chris Jantzen, EndEvil.Life, and I'm ChilWill Keller, willtelltruth.com. You guys have a good one. Take care. Agape. Thanks, Chris.
Thanks for having me, man. Appreciate it.
All right, brother. Peace.
Right on.